Welcome to this explainer. Go ahead and dim the lights wherever you are right now. Pull your chair a little closer to the screen and just imagine we're all gathered around a flickering digital campfire. Tonight, we're stepping far away from the bright, safe fluorescent lights of our everyday routines, and we are venturing straight into the shadows. We're going to be unpacking a true, first-hand account that honestly reads way less like a fast food employee's daily log and a whole lot more like a chilling horror story. Because as our source material perfectly proves, even in a place that is known worldwide for being super fun, friendly, and brightly lit, well, the night can bring out something truly unnerving.
At night, looked out at a pitch-black window and suddenly felt that cold, creeping sensation right on the back of your neck? That universal, totally instinctual fear is exactly what sits at the very heart of our explainer today. So our subject here was just 17 years old, and like so many teenagers at that age, he was in desperate need of a job just to pay off his college fees. He absolutely wasn't looking for thrills or scares or anything like that. He just wanted to earn an honest paycheck.
Perfectly normal. And 3 months, to be exact. For his first 3 months on the job, our 17-year-old was exclusively working the bustling day shifts at a 24-hour McDonald's. Now, during the day, a fast food restaurant is actually a pretty chaotic but very safe environment. You've got families coming in, students, the constant comforting hum of the fryers, the chatter of coworkers, and of course, sunlight just pouring through those big front glass windows. So he had gained a lot of solid experience and was getting really comfortably settled into his routine.
Story has a turning point. Trying to impress his boss, this young worker had basically agreed to take on whatever shift was needed. So, one afternoon, the boss calls him into the office and says, "Hey, you've got the experience now. I think you're ready for the night shift." The boss casually mentions that these shifts are super quiet and asks if he'd have any problem with it. Always eager to please, the teenager says, "No way, it wouldn't bother me at all." So his very first night shift is scheduled for Saturday night from midnight straight through until 5 a.m. That vibrant, noisy daytime environment? Yeah, it's about to be totally traded in for the isolating, ominous graveyard
And his
shift.
manager immediately hands him this super long list of incredibly mundane tasks. We're talking refilling the ketchup, refilling the mayonnaise, refilling the barbecue sauce, sweeping and cleaning the floors, wiping down the tables, just a laundry list of totally mindless chores. But here is the absolute kicker. As soon as the manager hands over this list and explains the tasks, he literally just goes home, leaving our 17-year-old entirely 100% alone in this massive, empty restaurant.
At first, because he has so many of these bottles to
Time is
refill
flying by.
he doesn't even really notice the total emptiness of the place. But then, suddenly, it hits 2 a.m. And it's odd. Not a single customer has come through those doors. A heavy, almost suffocating silence completely falls over the empty restaurant. There's a sort of haunting rhythm to a place like that at night, right? The quiet hum of the massive refrigerators echoing in the empty room, almost singing a lyrical, eerie lullaby of isolation. Like that classical lyric, "I always feel like somebody's watching me," just playing on a creepy loop in his head. He just wants to finish his work quickly so he can impress the manager the next day. He's literally just arranging coffee cups on a table when something in the atmosphere
He gets
drastically
that deeply
shifts.
unsettling feeling that he is being watched. It's this weird, heavy sensation pressing down on him. Now, he tries to brush it off as mere paranoia. You know, that irrational, creeping dread that gets completely amplified by isolation in an empty room. He tells himself, "Look, I have zero experience working this late. My body just isn't used to this. It's just sleep deprivation playing nasty tricks on my mind." He is desperately trying to apply logic to a purely instinctual feeling of dread.
True terror sets
And
in.
guys, this
Despite
is the
all his desperate attempts to rationalize, his eyes involuntarily dart over toward those massive glass windows at the front. Remember, it is pitch black outside, but brilliantly lit inside, which makes those windows act exactly like dark, scary mirrors. But as he peers through his own reflection, he sees it, a strange, solid black shape. It looks exactly like someone is standing right out there in the freezing dark, staring directly in at him.
Tug of war
So
begins in his
now,
head.
his rational mind is literally screaming, "It's just your imagination. You're exhausted. Stop it." But reality pushes back really hard with a chilling counterthought. Who on earth would be standing silently outside a closed fast food restaurant at 2 in the morning? He decides the absolute best coping mechanism here is to just stop looking. He forces his eyes down, completely focusing on furiously cleaning the tables, hoping that if he just ignores the dark will ignore him.
A little bit later, that overwhelming primal urge to check the window returns. He slowly lifts his head, his eyes pulled right back to the glass. And his stomach completely drops. The black shape hasn't disappeared. It hasn't walked away. No, it has moved significantly closer to the window. The oppressive silence of the restaurant feels so much heavier now. He is completely, utterly alone, staring through a pane of glass at this
convince
creeping
himself
void.
it's just a shadow, just a trick of his tired, overworked eyes. He buries himself back in his work, frantically trying to distract his racing mind. And then, a noise literally cuts through the dead silence.
It's a raspy, terrifying sound bleeding straight through the quiet, right through the glass. I can see you. I can see you.
And his
He
absolute
snaps his
worst
head up,
fears
looking
are
outside.
violently confirmed. It is not a shadow. It is not his imagination. Staring back at him through the glass is what he could only describe as a literal demon, a horrific figure whose eyes were red like blood, staring directly into his soul. And then, without warning, the figure begins constantly, aggressively slamming its fists against the thick window glass. The jarring, violent sound of fist against pane shatters whatever tiny bit of denial he had left.
He knows,
Pure,
deep in his bones, he cannot stay in that building for a single minute longer. He literally runs to the front door, practically slaps the closed sign against the glass, and sprints out to his car, literally running for his life. Shaking uncontrollably in the driver's seat, he calls his manager. But he doesn't tell him about the red eyes or the horrific banging. Why? Because he knows if he tells the truth, the manager absolutely won't believe him and he'll just look like a fool. So, thinking fast, he claims he is suddenly violently sick and needs to leave immediately. The manager agrees. And somehow, through his trembling, he manages to drive all the way home to safety and relief.
Harrowing tale, and leaves all of us with a really chilling question. Would you ever risk working the night shift? Reaching the absolute safety of his home that night, our 17-year-old made a solemn vow. He decided right then and there that he would never, ever do a night shift again. Ever. Even if it meant he had to go out and find a completely different job. He chose his safety and his sanity over the sheer terror of the midnight hours. So, the next time you find yourself alone at night, maybe catching your own reflection in a dark window, just make sure you're the only one looking back. Thank you so much for gathering around the digital campfire for this explainer. Stay safe out there and stay curious.